Amy, I'm wondering if you can help us all out, because what we do is we get input from the media and we hear voices. We're not in the thick of it like yourself, you know,
Hmm.
educating people, etc. And we hear things like, how can a librarian compare themselves to an air traffic controller? I mean, that's ridiculous. If you want the air traffic controller's wage, then become an air traffic controller. That's what we hear. Is there a way that you can give us, let's say people watching right now want
Hmm.
to know how to answer Uncle Bob when he's put that out on Facebook? Can you give us, I'm not looking like a trick, but like what's the elevator pitch for what we can use, the information we need to be able to communicate clearly why this is a good idea? Not even that, yeah, why we need it and why it's a good idea.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that our language has been a bit confusing for people here because when we say comparable, our brains instantly think that means the same. And so when we think about very different work, like an engineer and a librarian, we think that's crazy. What on earth is going on here? Are we
Mhm.
saying that they are suddenly working with these tools and doing maths, librarians? And we're not saying that. What it is, in fact, it's lifting us up to a different level and removing our instant assumptions and bias about tasks and saying underneath a task that you might do in your job are some skills, and there might be some effort and there's responsibilities that you have. And so by looking at things that are very different, it enables us to look underneath at what are the skills, responsibilities, and effort required. And something that's quite different allows us to do that because it's putting us below that front-facing task and investigating. So it's not about the similar tasks or what's being done, it's the level of skill, responsibility, and effort. And then you should be able to say, seeing as a job is about being paid for the skills
Mhm.
that you bring and your responsibility that you hold, if you have two very different jobs that are operating at that same level, they're bringing the same level of skills and they have the same level of responsibilities, why are they being paid differently? Let's have that conversation because that makes no
Mm.
sense. And this that kind of idea then challenges us to think about work differently. Oh, is it we're just simply not valuing some skills? Yes, actually, that is what's happening. There's a whole lot of stuff being done in work which is just not seen as skilled because it's not been, men haven't done it. And this, a really interesting thing to think about is that when computers first came out,
Mhm.
coding and programming of computers, because it wasn't very well
Yes.
understood, people are like, oh, well, that's an administrative task for women. That's easy. And it was actually women who did all that first computer coding and programming. And it was only when they were considered important to society, they were like, oh, well, men better do that. And then it was very well paid. So it's actually sometimes we just don't understand what is skilled because we don't perceive it to be so. So it challenges us to look beyond the task and at the skill.
Chewie, do you have anything else? I've got one other question, but if you've got another one, jump in now, and then we can wrap it up and say goodbye to Amy.
I love that you brought up the early programmers all being women
Yeah.
because it was seen as tedious and repetitive and
Yeah.
needing a high degree of accuracy. Let's have the chicks do that. I'll
Yep.
just sit in my manager's office. Yeah, very true. And the other example that was brought out that's kind of the reverse of that is if you go back 40, 50 years, most secondary school teachers were male and
Mm.
they were really well paid, equivalent to a backbench MP.
Yeah.
And then that switched.
Yeah. Yes, because when men do it, it's very important and skilled. And when women do it, we're just naturally, inherently good at caring. So it's not really a skill, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's
Um,
just in my own working career, it's something that grows. This is completely separate. I'm just going to have a whinge here. I'm a man that works in retail technology. The amount of people that will come to me as a man to explain something that any one of my female colleagues that have been working there longer than me will know backwards and front, and I'm like,
Mm.
are we still doing this? It's really cringe.
Yeah. Hey, I
um,
wanted to, if I could, just
yep.
quickly, because I don't think people have covered this a lot in the media, is talk about
Mm.
the introducing the right to phase in pay equity settlements.
Okay.
And because I think this is a really interesting point, because what other aspect of our human rights do we say you can only have a little piece of them at a time? if we've identified
Oh,
undervaluation based on gender, if we're saying, oh yeah, we can see that you're underpaid because you're a woman, but we're only going to correct that over the next 3 years. So you can have part of your human right this year, part of it next year, and part of it the year after. Where the hell else do you see that? Does that mean that woman should therefore go, well, I'll only do part of my job this year. I'll do part of it next year, and I might do the whole thing when you actually pay me for the whole thing. It's crazy that you can that they're trying to allow for phasing in, because it's
Yeah,
basically wage theft.
you think
Yeah.
about, I mean, a lot of the examples you think about in our modern time is, for example, in America, drinking at the right fountain. It's like saying, well, you can drink at the fountains that are on this side of the building, but not the
Yeah.
others. And then
Yeah.
next year, and then in 3 years, you can drink at any fountain you want.